the discussion we are having is there is a strong understanding about how much we had to give up on life to focus on work. So I was actually discussing that studies are showing, especially US economists are writing, that professions that give huge income level, where people make a lot of money, are ones where you have to spend substantial amount of time committed to that work.
Yep.
And as you rise up, you have to. So they're saying the odds are stacked against, of course, this work is about women. Odds are stacked against women who think they can have family and work.
Yep.
They can't really do this because the definition of work is wealth maximization for organizations who essentially do this. Around this time, I have 50% in XLRI, HR is women. Many of my students are now becoming managers and they're all asking, and men are asking, not women, men are asking, is it really true that I need to sacrifice a lot to have a good life? If I'm not going to have a life, what is the purpose of working so much? So what am I even doing? And I remember training. We do a lot of this corporate training where we meet people, especially banking sector. We met a lot. Many of them actually said, "Sir, we hardly saw our children growing." We actually, and the discussion finally boiled down to the fact that should we keep making sacrifices like this? What is the point of all this as a discussion? He made some wonderful point that, you can't change organizations. They are created for wealth maximization. But you can make your own choices.
Yeah.
And his point was is simple. And I think we're all corroborating there in the sense that those choices were frowned upon once upon a time. Meaning you choosing life over career. Today, we are celebrating those choices. And as far as the employee knows what they are getting into, it's not an issue. Let them make the choice, but you can't really change organizations. They are created for their own needs in the whole picture. When we moved between these, and he gave us he's giving us a discussion where what if what the employee is asking is a minor adjustment or not necessarily a major adjustment. They think it's a big difficult thing. They should move away from this, but maybe they just need a time management help or they need a temporary time off. So what if an organization understands that, empathizes with that moment, helps them rather than pushes them away, etc. Because not all of us have the clarity that for the next 20 years, I'll be doing what I'll be doing. I may be regretting after the second year.
Absolutely.
So what if so suddenly it brings the organization back into the focus. Can an organization give that space? I have met a few organizations who claim to be giving that space. They tell me we do give that space. We move them to a lighter role for some time and see whether they can do it. We move them to a different division. A big conglomerate can do that. We do a different division. Sometimes we say, do you want to try something for the society of the non-profit aspect, etc. We give them that space. They try it out and they come back. They come back and realize things are, because most of the time what you don't know attracts you more. And when you actually start going closer, you realize maybe this is not what I'm looking for. So this is what we were discussing. So the moment I'm getting into is, can organizations be helpful in these cases?
This particular topic is something that perfectly resonates particularly with me, with my family, right? And especially working in a startup culture, right? The demand, the amount of deadline you have to, meet. Those are the things that are actually making us work not 70, 80 hours per week, but close to 100 hours per week kind of a setup, right? So it's not normal for a lot of people, right, to get up, think about the work, and by the time you reach your home, you're all drained and you're just there, right? So there's no personal life per se. And this has been a scenario in our case, right? But how we are dealing with that in particularly with the gender issues, that obviously, for a female, it still it is a time that they have to also make up to their families, to their kids, right? So how we are dealing with that is, at least for female per se, it's not that there are a lot of female who are there in our in the senior leadership roles, but we make sure that at least the exit times are taken care of, right? And there's always a other person who comes into this his or her shoes to make sure that things are well taken care of there. what we are doing from the very practical approach is, as you rightly said, we are constantly meeting the people, right? That how they are feeling about it. Are they want some change in their day-to-day routine? And there are a lot of people who come forward and they himself or herself say that, actually they are feeling a lot of pressure, they need time off and all that, and we are making sure that those kind of things are taken care of. uh, Otherwise, particularly what we have witnessed and what we have seen is the productivity level. Though you ask them to work 24 hours a day, the next day is, he's a human at the end of the day, right? So you're not dealing with robots. So the productivity is very, very badly impacted in those scenarios. So yes, as you rightly said, we are living those examples where you said that why not experiment, why not talk to the people and get their understanding about it, and support them in their entire cause. And this has actually helped us retaining the talent, because otherwise, if you see in startup culture, especially in Ahmedabad kind of a scenario, for people who are basically from IT, who are basically from a very non-manufacturing background, it's very difficult to retain those guys. But we have been able to do so with all these things. In fact, there has been a couple of occasions where people have demanded us, very good talented people, that why can't they operate with from a remote location, and let's say for 15 days they are working from there, and 15 days they're coming here and they're working with us. And we have a case to case basis, we have been able to accept those proposals, or make them empowered in those directions, and that has actually helped us.
There's one more point what you said. I think what really touched a chord on that is that humans evolve. Aspirations at some point of their career will be very different from a few years down the lane, or a few years before that. So for firms that do end up giving that option to individuals where they can either take a step down or a step up, I think would be a key differentiator, because a lot of people will either fall out, where they'll make the wrong choice in saying, "Bahut ho gaya." I don't want to work at this point of time. While they may in the same context but in a different time, they might decide to carry on.
Yes.
Or the other way around, where somebody might say, "You know what? I mean, I'm done with taking a lower end of the spectrum at this point of time. I need to recharge my career." They may decide to look for something else. So I think for firms that do end up giving that option, that could be pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of women fall through the workforce because they make the forced choice of leaving the workforce because they perceive, rightfully so, that the organization is not ready to make the choice for them to take a step back. And those same folks, and let me also underline that same organization will go out on an arm and a leg a year later to hire that same individual at a different cost.
And I think with especially after the COVID time, during the remote working, that will also change the dynamics, in a different way altogether. Because earlier, for example, I come from the ITS BPO industry. We never thought of that our agents will be able to, serve to our US and UK clients sitting at their home, right? But that happens, still happening, right? So we are still allowing a lot of our employees to work from home. So I think that also created a lot of work-life balance. Though I know a lot of companies, a lot of industries like manufacturing and all, it may not in their like hospital and all, it's not possible, right? But wherever it is possible, where the organization is giving that extra room and leg to their employees, that is also helping the women as well as other employees to have the better work-life balance, where they can manage their or a hybrid sort of environment. Like a lot of companies give like a 3 days a week, you come to office and 2 days you work from home and likewise. So I think that is also helpful. But yes, definitely, it depends whether the organization, first of all, has a will to do that or not.
Yeah, they don't have the space to do that.
Space to do that, or options like depending upon the size of the organization, whether they can do that or not. So definitely that makes a difference.
And one good thing I would say that has happened recently is that people are willing and they are coming forward with their choices that they want to make. Especially women, they are coming forward and they are asking for all those options to get explored. Otherwise, earlier it was never said, it was never asked, and it was never assumed that this kind of a thing can also happen, right?
Correct.
This kind of a working mechanism can coexist. But right now, with the choices and the new generation that is coming up to the workforce, they are actually seeking those choices to be made available, and that actually is working. Ultimately, if you ask, you ultimately crying baby gets the milk, right? So it's that kind of a scenario, and they are asking for it, and we explored thanks to COVID, right? In one scenario, and that is actually somehow helping women and men alike, right, who wants to have that kind of a work-life balance.